You're listening to WRRT Womp Rat Radio Tatooine.
Mos Eisley Spaceport. You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Impressive. Most impressive. You are not a Jedi yet.
Hello and welcome back to Womp Rat Radio, episode number 3. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Womp Rat Radio. I'm Sam from Sam's Lazy Diary and the Disney Nerds Podcast. Today, we're talking A New Hope. Dante, come on in here, buddy. What is happening?
Morning, everybody. Trying to stay warm right now.
Yeah, you know what? We're talking about A New Hope, but you and I right now in the middle of this polar vortex that's gripping the northeastern United States, I feel like we should be, on a Hoth somewhere. I feel like we are on a Hoth. Yeah?
Does this mean in the spring we're going to do the Return of the Jedi because we're in the woods and it's green?
It may be when it's raining and it's coming down and we'll be out there in our speeder bikes. But right now we need our snow speeders to be outside. That's for sure.
Yep.
So, dude, A New Hope. We talked in the first episode. That's what started it all for you and I. We were both youngsters in the movie theater. And I figured, let's do our top 6 scenes or moments or whatever you want to call it from A New Hope. Hopefully this will intrigue some of our listeners to say, hey, yeah, that was pretty cool. And then we'll go through all the movies eventually. We have lots of time. But why not start with A New Hope? And in no particular order, because you and I might be able to just recite the entire movie all the time. I don't know that I'd point out. I don't know that there's a bad scene in this movie. Although when you watch some of the behind the scenes and some of the director's cuts and some of the things that didn't make it, you could see that it was kind of slow when George Lucas originally came up with the movie. Then it worked out from there. So I'll let you go first in no particular order. I have mine written down. They're right in front of me. My top 6, although I will say there's 6, 7, 8, 9. There's probably closer to 10. But I did that because if you take one of mine, then I can just knock it off. Okay. So do you want to start with the bottom of the list or on top? Your favorite moment? That's probably the right place. Then we won't steal each other's.
I mean, like I said, I had this list, and it wasn't in any particular order, but of
Nor
all
should
the
it be.
The one that I always kind of liked from a visual perspective, because it leads into, there's not a lot of dialogue in the beginning, but it starts to build into it, is the initial X-Wing attack scene when you see them launching from Yavin 4 and they get up in space.
Standing by.
Red 9, standing by.
Red 2, standing by.
Red 11, standing by.
Red 5, standing by.
Lock airfoils in attack position.
We're passing through the magnetic field.
Hold tight.
Put your deflectors on double front.
Lock X-Wings in attack position, right? And you see
X-Wings
them
in attack position.
Yeah, and you see that sort of come in, and that entire
So when they're in the air coming down and they lock together and they make it right into the trench. I think I have that on my list as the number 5, believe it or not, which is Death Star Assault.
Right, because
that's how I have
it's an attack scene, right? There's a lot of action going on at that moment, and there are a couple of obviously memorable moments there. Darth Vader chasing Luke Skywalker, noticing that the Force is strong with this one. Han Solo coming out of the sky, knocking the 2 TIE fighters out of range, and Darth Vader actually starts, roaming through the sky, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's the whole Obi-Wan scene, right? Obi-Wan talking to Luke Skywalker, telling him what to do.
Well, yeah, not that Obi-Wan's not in it. It's the
right.
first instance of a Force ghost that we had no idea, but a Force voice or whatever you want to call it.
And the folks back at the base noticing that, hey, he's taking off his target.
He turned Luke. He turned off your targeting computer.
Right.
The Force is strong in this one.
Luke, trust me.
His computer's off. Luke, you switched off your targeting computer. What's wrong?
Nothing. I'm all right.
All right. I got to go back. My favorite moment, like I said, that was number 5, so I'm going to knock it off. And we talked about this in the first episode, which seems like yesterday. It almost was, wasn't it? It's the opening. It's the opening crawl, and maybe it's the first 4 to 5 minutes of A New Hope. because it goes from that Star Destroyer, which, as I mentioned before, we didn't know what it was, coming overhead with all of the sound, and then a cut inside the cockpit to some droids. And who is this? It's R2 and 3PO and another protocol droid, which I don't know that we know much about that one. What are these things? And then it goes to all of the rebels lined up, and the door blows up, and in walks Vader, and in walks all the troopers, and that very quickly goes from them walking through the door to Vader choking somebody looking for plans, all the way to Leia walking through. I just think the beginning of that movie sets the tone for this is going to be different than any other movie you ever saw. So I have to go with the opening crawl.
The Death Star plans are not in the main computer.
Where are those transmissions you intercepted? What have you done with those plans?
We intercepted no transmissions. This is a consular ship. We're on a diplomatic mission.
If this is a consular ship, where is the ambassador?
All the way, actually, I would actually take that all the way through to when the 3PO and R2 launched out in the escape pod. I mean, I'd go that far with this scene.
You know, there's a small brief clip there where it pans back to the Star Destroyer, and one of the lieutenants or captains says, "Hey, there's another escape pod just launched," and they decide not to shoot it down at them, right?
There's no life forms on board.
Right. So think of if they shot that down.
If they shot that down, the whole movie's done. There's no movie.
There goes another one.
Hold your fire. There's no life forms. It must have short-circuited.
That's funny. The damage doesn't look as bad from out here. Are you sure this thing is safe?
That was I remember seeing that in some parodies, that moment in time, which is kind of cool. All right, that's look at that. That's 2 off our list. My number 1, my number 5. What else you got?
One of my favorite clips, because it actually has the quote that I always remember more than anything, was as they are escaping the Death Star in the Millennium Falcon, and you have the 4 TIE fighters chasing them. That attack scene.
Yes.
Specifically, the quote that I kind of always enjoyed more than anything was when Luke Skywalker, little farm boy, right, shoots down his first X-Wing. And he gets so super excited. And Han Solo says, "Great shot, kid. Don't get cocky."
Don't get cocky. I know exactly the scene that you're talking about. And believe it or not, that's not on my list.
I got him! Great kid! Don't get cocky!
Don't get cocky, kid. That's
Right.
Perfect. All right, number 2 from my list. I figure I'll go down, right? Which one I like second. And I guess it's a combination of 2 scenes, but it's really the introduction of the cantina, because I love the cantina. It's the first time you hear that music, because I think just as big as quotes are, like "Don't get cocky, kid," the music is so cool. So the introduction of the cantina scene, maybe take, and I even put it in the beginning of Womp Rat Radio, the part where Kenobi says, "You'll never find a place with more villains or scoundrels," or whatever it is, right to the music playing, and the original with Wolfman in there before George Lucas went back and changed stuff. The cantina and everything happening in the cantina, I just think is a great moment, all the way up till, we don't serve their kind. Yep. I just think it's awesome.
Hey, we don't serve their kind here.
What?
Your droids. They'll have to wait outside. We don't want them here.
Why don't you wait out by the speeder? We don't want any trouble.
I heartily agree with you, sir.
I remember the one thing I was kind of, even as a kid, watching that scene was when, just as you see C-3PO and R2-D2 walking in, and that guy says, "We don't serve that kind." The thing that occurred to me was, how did they get down those steps?
How did R2 get down the steps?
How would C-3PO have gotten down those steps? I mean, I didn't think his knees bent,
Yeah, you can kind of see him walking down the steps when they say "we don't serve their kind," but R2 stays up on the top, so it's a good thing they just kicked him right back around. All right, what do you have next?
Me? I don't know if it's... I think these are actually 2 scenes, but they kind of bleed into one another. The first half is obviously the literal rescue of the princess when Luke Skywalker walks into her cell.
Too short for a stormtrooper.
Huh? Oh, the uniform.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
You're who?
I'm here to rescue you. I've got your R2 unit. I'm here with Ben Kenobi.
Ben Kenobi? Where is he?
Come on.
The part of that I kind of really liked was, oh, hi, I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you. And she's like, you're who?
Who? I'm here with Ben Kenobi. Ben? Where?
And right from there, it bleeds into, obviously, the garbage compactor scene, right? And the part of it that I always kind of enjoyed was C3. They're all celebrating towards the end that they've survived, and you can hear C3PO like, "Oh my God, they're dying."
3PO, shut up and listen to me. Shut down all the garbage masters on the detention level. Shut them all down.
Are you there, sir?
3PO?
We've had some problems.
Will you shut up and listen to me? Shut down all the garbage masters on the detention level, will you? Do you copy? Shut down all the garbage masters on the detention level. Shut down all the garbage masters on the detention level.
No, shut them all down. Hurry.
What?
Listen to them. They're dying, R2. Curse my metal body. I wasn't fast enough. It's all my fault.
Yeah, I definitely remember that quote for certain. And in fact, I have those listed as 4, 4A, 4B because that whole sequence, which you might be able to start with the when they go into the detention center to begin with. Right, when they get into the elevator and they put the handcuffs on Chewie, and Chewie does the good, oh, I know what they're thinking. He yells at the little mouse droid that runs away. Then when they open it up, it goes, what are you doing with that thing? Which leads to the shooting of the, boring conversation anyway. Look, we're going to get company. That all leads right back together to the scene down the hallway to jumping into the trash compactor. I don't care what you smell. Get in there. That whole thing, I don't think it's one scene. We could call it one scene, but I had it listed as multiple because it goes right down that list with all of them. And it's a great sequence any way you look at it.
Everything's under control. Situation normal.
What happened?
Had a slight weapons malfunction, but everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
Who is this? What's your operating number?
Boring conversation anyway.
Luke, we're gonna have company!
What a wonderful smell you've discovered. Right? It's right in there.
Yeah.
So that's like detention center / trash compactor. I had both those down. Actually, that was number 4 on my list, 4 and 4A. We did 1, 2, 4, and 5. So that means I got to come back to my number 3 moment, which is Vader's force choke.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I find your lack of faith disturbing, which is a pretty cool scene right through the Death Star. Maybe one of the first times we were actually on the Death Star, because we see a Star Destroyer approaching it, which just dwarfs the thing, right? Because now what we've seen in the past is the small ship with in the opening crawl, the Star Destroyer coming over it. Now we get a sense of scale because we see the Star Destroyer approaching this huge Death Star, and you go, wow, if that thing was big, how big is that? And then it goes right into Admiral Akbar. I am so far off. No, with Tarkin, and Tarkin is talking to all of his
lieutenants.
Lieutenants are arguing with each other. And that's when Vader comes in, and you guys just don't get it, and he does the force choke until Tarkin comes in and says, "That's it." And in fact, another quote from that particular scene that we didn't quite understand until years and years later, which was when Tarkin says, the Imperial Senate doesn't matter; they've been disbanded, and the lieutenants are like, "How? How does that happen?" And we've learned later that was all part of Order 66, and it's kind of crazy that they had that baked in. Not that George Lucas knew what it was, but that something was going to happen to cause something to be different, and now this space station is so
Your
important.
sad devotion to that ancient religion has not helped you conjure up the stolen data tapes, or given you clairvoyance enough to find the rebels' hidden fort.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Enough of this. Vader, release him.
As you wish.
This bickering is pointless. Yeah. That's good. It's good any way you look at it. All right, back to you, buddy.
Okay. There's a scene. They're in the Millennium Falcon. They're trying.
Okay.
They're flying to Alderaan, right? And there's that scene where Chewbacca is playing with R2-D2 that little chess game.
Yeah.
Because I got intrigued by these little chess games, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
the characters in general, the animation, it's cool.
Han Solo brings up the fact that Wookiees aren't good losers, right? C-3PO says, "I see your point, sir. I suggest a new strategy. Let the Wookiee win."
Let the Wookiee win. Absolutely.
He made a fair move. Screaming about it can't help you.
Let him have it. It's not wise to upset a Wookiee.
But, sir, nobody worries about upsetting a droid.
It's because a droid don't pull people's arms out of their sockets when they lose. Wookiees are known to do that.
I see your point, sir. I suggest a new strategy, R2. Let the Wookiee win.
I don't know if my next one would be part of the cantina scene, but it's the, he doesn't like you. I don't like you either, which leads to the sword being drawn and the guy loses an arm, and that whole sequence, I think, is pretty cool because it's the first time we saw lightsaber in action and saw what the thing could do. Just zing. There's an arm on the floor.
That scene, that type of weapon does not exist in TV genre before that.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
I mean, it's the first time it's like, what the hell is that thing? What did it do? Right?
I'll be careful. You'll be
I
dead.
don't like you either. You just watch yourself. We're wanted men. I have the death sentence on 12 systems.
I'll be careful.
You'll be dead.
This little one's not worth the effort. Come, let me get you something.
Throws the grappling hook and they leap across.
Yeah, the
right?
trench, I would call it, when they swing across the trench.
And the reason why that scene was kind of iconic was because she kisses him. Right? And it's
nobody knew anything. Right. It was a good luck thing.
Oh my.
Well, yeah, but we didn't know that then. It was the princess. Didn't know it then,
but you always go back. But when you find out who she is, you immediately go back to that scene of like, oh, she kissed him.
Yeah, but that was really a good luck. Get us across this. So this is going to be an issue.
Part of that scene that I always liked was, the courageous Han Solo chasing all those stormtroopers down the hallway.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, that's one that I kind of like when they redid it, because initially there was one or two stormtroopers there, right? And then when the enhanced versions came out, he comes around the corner and there's a whole wall of just
he hits like the garrison of him, like he starts running the other way, screaming.
Yeah, exactly.
Get back to the ship!
Certainly has courage.
Which leads to the famous, and I'm going to call this a different scene, but one on my list, which is close the blast doors, open the blast doors, open the blast doors. It's all kind of that same thing, and I just thought that was comical. Yeah. And it kind of led us to the stormtroopers are a little bit funny or a little bit of humor, but nothing towards what we have today, which is a lot of humor. Just a little bit, but it was good back then.
Close the blast doors.
We did. So we touched on the cantina, but one of the others that I have listed as an honorable mention is, the two most classic quotes that you run into from A New Hope, and it's things that have just shown up everywhere throughout pop culture. And one of them, they're arguable which one is more quoted, but one is, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope." And I think it's that whole kind of Luke's out in the desert. He goes looking for the droids. He gets knocked out by one of the sand people. Obi-Wan shows up to get him and says, hey, we need to get out of here. Then they go back to Obi-Wan's little hut up on the hillside where he's been watching Luke for, decades. But for a decade, 15, 16, 17 years, whatever the case might have been. And from there, that's when the conversation about the Force, what it is. It's the first time we hear that term. It's the first time that...
The Force is what gives the Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us, and penetrates us, it binds the galaxy together.
That we hear a lot of this, and Luke tries to get the thing pulled out, and we get the whatever stuck in R2, and it's the help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. And that right there just sets the tone for so much more intriguement and just sucks you in even more as a youngster. What's going on?
I saw part of the message.
I seem to have found it.
General Kenobi, years ago you served my father in the Clone Wars. Now he begs you to help him in his struggle against the Empire. I regret that I am unable to present my father's request to you in person. This is our most desperate hour. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
So that's one of the quotes. What do you think's the most quoted line in Star Wars?
Well, there's two. I think there's two. You just hit upon one, right?
Yes.
Help me, one Kenobi, right?
And I purposely allowed you to take the other one.
But the other one you hear in all the movies, right, is May the Force be with you.
Absolutely.
Right?
The Force will be with you. Always.
Then man your ships, and may the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
Use the Force, Luke.
The Force is strong in this one.
How many times in Star Wars? You definitely hear Han Solo say it. As they are planning the attack on the Death Star, the leaders of the Alliance, they say that as well to the X-Wing fighters and Y-Wing fighters going out there, right?
Yep.
That is the most quoted line, I think, throughout Star Wars.
That or I got a bad feeling about this.
Very bad feeling about this.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Because one of the things that I always go back to is you scruffy-looking Nerf herder, but that's in The Empire Strikes Back. That's not in A New Hope. And they kind of get blurred after all the time.
Who's scruffy-looking?
Who's scruffy-looking? Exactly. Another classic scene, and I don't think anybody really saw it coming, but it's really the first and the only lightsaber duel in A New Hope. Right? It's Obi-Wan and Vader on the loading dock as the rest of the crew approaches the Millennium Falcon, which, by the way, when you peel back the onion on A New Hope, there's not a lot of characters in A New Hope. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty much a group of good guys and a bad guy, right? You got, it starts with Obi-Wan and Luke, and then they meet Han and Chewie. You got the droids, and then on the bad guy side, you got Darth Vader, Grand Moff Tarkin. And really, that's the core that you have here. And when you think about the expanded universe that we have today, it's absolutely amazing. And I think it's what a lot of people have said with, hey, Dante and I are going to do a Star Wars podcast. And people go, what are you going to talk about? Well, we're not going to talk about one movie, although we are going to today. But holy cow, does this thing get just completely spread out as we go forward. But back to the Ben Kenobi, Darth Vader lightsaber duel which is taking place on the Death Star. In the launch play, I mean, it's clear that Obi-Wan sacrificed himself so Luke could see it, and he'd hopefully that's what would make him. I can't go back now. I have to do this. I have to fight this thing. I don't know what this is. I don't know exactly what I'm in for, but I have to fight it. And then when Obi-Wan comes back later with the May the Force be with you during the trench run, it all kind of ties together.
Mm-hmm.
What else is on your list?
There's a handful more. There's actually one scene. There is no dialogue whatsoever.
Okay.
It's the medal ceremony. It's the end.
Dude, I have it on my list here, and I had it to be the very last thing that I was going to bring up if you didn't bring it up. But just the ending.
There's three things that you noticed. First of all, R2-D2 comes out nice and shiny, fixed up.
All both droids are nice and shiny. 3PO too. Holy cow.
The next thing you noticed was, I mean, to me, you hear Chewbacca roar. Yeah. That's like the instance where everyone starts clapping, right? But then you know he's the only one who doesn't get a medal.
Yeah, and I something that I didn't realize the first time through, but there's only 2 medals apparently, and that's Han and Luke that get those.
Yeah. But that's the closing of the movie, right? And what happens is as soon as that's done, boom, it goes right into
it goes right to the credits. As soon as that's over, boom, you see written and directed by George Lucas.
And you hear the music.
And then the music starts and the credits start to roll and you go, holy cow. But it's such a closure to the movie because remember, George had no idea there'd be another movie. This was it. This was Star Wars. This wasn't A New Hope. This was Star Wars. We followed this journey, the hero's journey, the farm boy that's on Tatooine that really doesn't know what he wants to do with his life. And he's trying to figure it out. And he just wants to go get the power converters on Tashi Station. Another quote. That's all he's after, and his uncle's making him go and look for some droids and making him go with the crops or whatever it is that they're doing there with the humidors, and he goes from that all the way to standing in front of a vast amount of rebels getting a medal after he just blew up the most devastating weapon in the history of the galaxy. That is the definition of a hero's journey, and amazing that at that point in time we had no idea that this is just the beginning of the whole thing.
When you watched that movie, you had no idea there was going to be a second movie.
No, we talked about that in the first episode of Womp Rat Radio. We didn't know. We were kids. We had no idea. And then, a few years later, we find out there's another movie coming, right? Because we were all, did Darth Vader live? Did Grand Moff Tarkin live? Did he take up that commander that said, should I prepare your escape pod? There is a small hole. At that point, the rebels figured it out that they're going down this trench because they might be able to blow this thing up, which is when they report back to Tarkin and say, hey, do you want us to get your escape pod ready? And he's like, no. In my moment of triumph.
Right.
And that I just think is really cool. All right, that's the ending. There are some more in here that I wanted to touch on.
There's one that I had.
Okay, what else do you have?
They come out of hyperspace supposedly to land on Alderaan. It's not there. It's been blown up. Right?
Yes.
TIE fighter attacks them. They start chasing the TIE fighter.
Well, that's the good old. What's he doing all the way out here? He can't be in. Yeah.
Right. And Han says he's heading for that moon, right?
That's no moon.
That's no moon.
Space station.
That's a space station.
Which, that particular scene, because now you're getting the holy cow, and that's when the tractor beam hits it and they go in and they're.
Look at him, he's heading for that small moon.
I think I can get him before he gets there. He's almost in range.
That's no moon. It's a space station.
It's too big to be a space station.
Very bad feeling about this.
Turn the ship around.
One that's on my list, which was the actual destruction of Alderaan, right? It's the good old, you're far too trusting, Princess Leia, from Tarkin to...
Dantooine. They're on Dantooine.
There, you see, Lord Vader, she can be reasonable. Continue with the operation. You may fire when ready.
What?
Who still goes on and blows this things up. Then shoot back immediately to Ben Kenobi, who's in the Falcon with Luke, and he goes, "It's as if a million voices just cried out." And I don't think we quite understood what all that meant. He just blew something up, but there's some symbolism there because it's a nice blue planet out there. It looks pretty, and boom, it's gone.
What's wrong? I felt a great disturbance in the Force, as if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced.
What else do you have in your list?
I have Back to the Cantina. I like a lot around cantinas. And it's when we see Greedo sort of intercept Han Solo and come through and say, "Where you going, Solo?" in his little dialect. And we have, what is this green thing that's after Han Solo? And then the little interaction and the battle and the flipping of the coin, or sorry for the mess. But that entire sequence is, wow, what just happened? There's so much dialogue there.
When Han ends it with flips the coin.
Sorry about the mess. Yeah, which it looks like a nickel, but who knows what it means in Imperial credits. Or if they're even using credits, they're pirates, so there could be a gold coin for all we know.
Over my dead body.
Yes,
I bet you have. Sorry about the mess.
The introduction of Han Solo. Han Solo, captain of the Millennium Falcon.
Han Solo. I'm captain of the Millennium Falcon. Chewie here tells me you're looking for passage to the Alderaan system.
Yes, indeed. If it's a fast ship.
Fast ship? You've never heard of the Millennium Falcon?
Should I have?
It's a ship that made the Kessel run in less than 12 parsecs. I've outrun Imperial starships. Not the local bulk cruisers, mind you. I'm talking about the big Carillion ships now.
You came here on that? Those all kind of go together there.
You came nothing? You're braver than I thought.
Nice. Come on.
And the celebration at the end, and just the trash compactor in general, which is the first time, by the way, and maybe the only time in Star Wars that we learned that a blast pistol or a laser gun can be deflected by a magnetic shield. Because they shoot inside of the compactor. Yeah. It's like, well, what doesn't the shield go through everything? Well, apparently not, because it didn't go through the walls of the trash compactor when they tried to shoot the entrance out.
No, wait! You forget it! I already tried it! It's magnetically sealed!
Put that thing away! You're gonna get us all killed!
There are so many, we talked about the destruction of Alderaan. Even C-3PO and R2-D2 on Tatooine, when they first land there and come out of the escape pod, and you just desert everywhere, and you got that skeleton of some type of a snake-like creature. It's kind of cool.
Malfunctioning little twerp. This is all his fault. He tricked me into going this way, but he'll do no better.
The binary sunset. So classic. The two suns. Is it two suns or two moons? But just the fact that you have two of them is so intriguing that, hey, look at the logo for Womp Rat Radio. It's right there. Dante, thanks for your time. This has been good. I kind of already sort of see, we're going to do this for every movie, that's for certain. We talked about Bounty Hunters. Now we're talking about A New Hope. We're going to talk, there's so much more to talk about. In fact, there's some new books that are coming out, some new comics that all tie to Galaxy's Edge, the planet of Batuu and what's being built at Walt Disney World. We're going to have a lot to talk about when it comes to that in future episodes.
Okay.
Thanks for your time, Dante. Thank you guys for watching Womp Rat Radio. Remember, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and iTunes. Published in iTunes, dude. We made it. We'll see you guys next time. And I guess, after talking about these quotes from an outro, you and I have been using May the Force Be With You. Maybe we should mix that up a little bit. I don't know. He doesn't like you either. I don't know. May the Force be with you.
All right. See you guys. Stay warm.
You're listening to WRRT Womp Rat Radio Tatooine.